Please welcome Kyle Ozier.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My job today is to tell you about Hot Pockets. Right? Where's my slide? There we go. I'm here to tell you about what? Oh, well, I thought that would interrupt our lunch. Okay, I'm sorry, it's Hot Topics. There we go, thank you. Because as you know, as we were told, there are no elephants in the room anymore. So for Hot Topics, these are topics that are taking up people's time around the buffet and around the bar. The first one being WorkForce 2020 and beyond, which Julie Reyes, Mary Clough, and Ronnie Ball, these three kick-ass professionals, are going together to share with us the road to harmony in our workforce in the future. Imagine. Okay. Then after that is actual lunch, and then we'll have 3 short panels after that: innovating live entertainment, the future of zoos and aquariums. You don't need me to read this to you. The vanishing seesaw, all curated by Steve Burkett, Christine, myself, and Melissa. So here we go. I forgot one thing. Thanks to everybody who submitted videos. I put out this big call for videos, inspirational videos, things where you adopted philosophies or learned something aspirational. And we got a lot of responses. And the idea was that before each of these panels, we would do about a 1-minute clip of something that somebody having to do with our audience or on stage found inspirational. And we got a really great breadth of speakers and topics. It was great. Unfortunately, when we started asking for permission, a lot of them were from one group. They couldn't come as close to free as we needed them to come. So all of you who submitted TED Talks, not happening. But that's what the other videos are. So I'm going to leave the stage. The women will come up, and we'll have a little amuse-bouche video for you to start the program.
You don't even have to learn how to be like, hey. You don't even have to learn and practice that skill. You don't have to be the uncomfortable one who says yes when you mean no and says no when you mean no, but yes when you don't have to swipe right. Bang, I'm a stud. Right? You don't have to learn the social coping mechanisms, right? Everything you want, you can have instantaneously. Everything you want, instant gratification, except job satisfaction and strength of relationships. There ain't no app for that. They are slow, meandering, uncomfortable, messy processes. And so I keep meeting these wonderful, fantastic, idealistic, hardworking, smart kids. They've just graduated school. They're in their entry-level job. And I sit down with them and I go, how's it going? They go, I think I'm gonna quit. I'm like, why? They're like, I'm not making an impact. I'm like, you've been here 8 months. You know? It's as if they're standing at the foot of a mountain and they have this abstract concept called impact that they want to have in the world, which is the summit. What they don't see is the mountain. I don't care if you go up the mountain quickly or slowly, but there's still a mountain. And so what this young generation needs to learn is patience. That some things that really, really matter, like love or job fulfillment, joy, love of life, self-confidence, a skill set, any of these things, all of these things take time. Sometimes you can expedite pieces of it, but the overall journey is arduous and long and difficult. And if you don't ask for help and learn that skill set, you will fall off the mountain.
Well said. Hello. It is my distinct pleasure to be here today with you all to talk about WorkForce 2020 and beyond, which, side note, I always want to say in the Buzz Lightyear voice, but I'll keep it professional. So what does that mean? Looking at the state of the workforce now, what does it look like? How is it changing? How is it evolving? Moreover, how do we embrace it? All these changes that are happening so that we're ensuring we're fostering success with our own teams. Now, when this topic was brought up, I really wanted to focus it on 2 very specific populations. Number 1, our more seasoned talent, who is maybe approaching what's known as retirement age, so our boomers out there, and additionally our emerging talent, our millennials, our next gen. So now why these two specifically? I think that they really have the most to learn from each other. They're the two groups that are coming upon the most change. While they might seem diametrically opposed in their relationship to technology and even their perspective on careers, they also have the largest population changes in the workforce. So to give you an example, so currently millennials make up 35% of our workforce. Now compare that to our more seasoned talent, the boomer generation, 25. That is also changing though, because they are reaching retirement age. Every day, 10,000 workers in the United States hit retirement age. That doesn't mean they're ready necessarily to give it all up, but they're there. This is something that we have to look at. It's a numbers thing. And when we talk about these two populations, we really want to focus on a few key points. Number one being looking at the source of and the preparation of our future leaders. How are we preparing them? Are we preparing them? There's a lot of them coming. Looking at things like ageism and what we call title creep, because we have these very different populations in our teams now and in our organizations. How are we dealing with that? And how is it impacting what we can do? And finally, how does mentorship, real meaningful mentorship and knowledge transfer, play into our organizations? How does it work into talent planning? Are we doing any talent planning? We're certainly not here to lament either population, but things are changing and we need to know how to embrace that. Now, I personally, in my day-to-day, see a lot of these topics covered almost too late from my clients. They'll get, waded in, knee-deep into hiring and realize that they maybe don't have the infrastructure, the support teams in place for the hire they're trying to make. They might be frustrated and maybe kind of feel like they're trying to put a Band-Aid on what is a whole lot of broken bones. And this plays out in a lot of different ways. So a couple examples. I have a client who was looking for an entry-level coordinator position. Received a lot of resumes, did not bring in a single person because they felt that they had not yet received a proper formal cover letter. Another client, 2 months into a search, realizes that there are literally less than 12 people on the planet who are certified and educated enough to do the role they are hiring for. All of those people are 65 or over. They don't want to sign up for a 3-year gig. I've had parents call me on behalf of their recent college grad to counter an offer letter. Parents, that's plural, people, that's plural. And finally, just this past month, I had a client calling and looking for a technical writer. And the reason why is that they took a survey of their actual talent population, realized the volume of which was going to be retiring or hitting retirement age very soon. So they spent the last 3 years compiling a database that just tracks their managerial progress, what they know, what they've worked on, so that they might be able to pass that on. So they need a technical writer who can essentially translate this into English, create a handbook of sorts. So what do all these examples have to do with each other? They are very clear and present signs of a changing workforce. And we, as business leaders, need to embrace it. We need to be ready for it because it is coming. So here today to discuss this with me, I have my friends Mary Clough, Managing Director of Mousetrap, and Ronnie Ball, Global HR and Talent Consultant. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Here.
So I'd like to start with the source and preparation of our future leaders. Something interesting that I came upon was the fact that, so by the year 2029, 50% of the workforce will be reporting to someone younger than themselves. So that's not very far away.
No.
That's also a big number. So As talent pros who are out there in the trenches with me, I want to know, what does that number instill in you in terms of thinking about how do we prepare our leaders?
From my point of view, we've talked about this a couple of times now. From my point of view, this is it's consciousness raising. Organizations have to be really aware that we are doing a shift in how we train the next set of leaders. We need to remember a couple of things about, the dreaded M word, the millennial word, and that group right behind them, is that the boomers and the generation right after the boomers, well, we raised these people. We were the ones who created this mindset that they were special, that things come quickly, that they can do anything, that they should derive fulfillment from every moment of their day. All right, and if we didn't raise them, the people who mentored us raised them. So what they were doing with their kids, they were also doing with us. And that's my perspective on it. So, okay, now we have this group, they're not going away. And all that training that they have, all that groundwork is there. So we have to raise our consciousness and stop lamenting about it and say, how do we tap into it? How do we set up a system that's going to still identify leaders, which many of us already have, but saying that this is their mindset, just like it says in the video, and change our organizations, just tweak them. Not so much change, but a tweak in these organizations. To say, I'm going to take this person and I'm going to coach them into that leadership position, that ability to take over the job that I'm doing today. Now, how you do that is the real challenge. And that's my perspective. First, it's raising the consciousness. We've got to stop lamenting and say, they've got this, it's there, they want to make it happen. How do I make it happen in my organization? That's my 10 minutes on that.
Right, and I think to that point, lamenting them does nothing. There's no reason to lament them. They're here, it's happening, let's all accept it and move on. But moreover, they are a very aspirational generation. They've been told they're magical their whole lives. They believe anything can happen. What industry other than ours is more tailor-made for that thinking, right? So to be able to harness that properly and prepare them is amazing. That's a fantastic recipe, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I recently working with a company that is a fairly young company, and I'm a little uncomfortable to say this out loud, but I'm the oldest employee in that company. It's a company of 75 employees, and all of them are that dreaded word M. And I am learning that just having a job description is not enough. It has to be a really very clear, concise, process-oriented job description. And I am also learning that I have to make sure that the job that I'm posting, you don't just take a job description and you're posting it somewhere for someone to respond to, that it has to be you have to post it in a way or craft that job description in a way that it seems like it's a really very unique opportunity. And that your brand is really telling the story, and that this is a rare opportunity for them to take a part of, and that it's going to be a very meaningful experience to work in this organization. So I am trying to figure it out, and I'm hoping that there'll be some questions raised here today that we can actually have a dialogue and be able to talk more about this, and I can learn today as well.
Well, I think just that statement that you just made, that I am trying to learn it too, like that's what it is really right. Having to kind of meet each other halfway, because they do want to be part of something amazing. We have done some amazing stuff, so we kind of meet in the middle. But I think now more than ever, because this generation is also more highly educated than perhaps previous generations at this specific age in their careers, and we have more discipline-specific advanced degrees. So UCF has their new master's program that's starting this fall. So we're going to have an even larger wave of this group that's incredibly highly educated. but they've never built anything.
I know, this is
They
a
haven't
group-
done anything with that yet. So.
This is a group that thinks simulation is reality.
Yeah, it's very, very different. So I think that kind of dovetails nicely with our next key point, where we're talking about ageism in both directions, right? You don't know anything, you're too young. You don't know anything, you're too old. And kind of what we see happen with a title creep, especially now, as our economists confirmed, we do have a talent shortage. So when you've got a shortage of talent, you have a very, very large population, you've got a lot of roles to fill, you do the math. You're gonna end up with a 26-year-old creative director. That's just what's gonna happen. So how, in that instance, can we help them?
I think go ahead.
No, go ahead. This is a great Mary Club story.
I think part of it is prepping the people who are walking into the room the first time. This goes back into anticipating what problems they're going to have during the course of this development period. And when I say prepping it, is starting first with person number one. Here you are the seasoned professional who's built a gazillion projects, and your creative leader is going to be somebody who's built nothing. Now you have to prep them. Okay, Mr. Experience, what can you give this person? What information can you transfer over to them? How do you want to be approached? How do you think they should be approached? It's a lot more work in the beginning, because, in my day, wow, you're placed on this project, you're lucky to have this wonderful job. That's not quite the situation. The same thing has to happen with your 26-year-old creative director. You've got to prep them to come to the admission of, hey, what don't you know? We know you know all these wonderful things. Do you know about physics? Do you know about engineering? Do you know about guest flow? Do you know about how many people you need to get through the ride? Whatever that may be. But once again, it comes back to my earlier point. You want to raise their consciousness. You want to say, you're going to go into this, you have this thing to build in this time frame for this money. But the first thing you guys have to do is find a way to exchange information. If you can tap into anybody's ability to say, I want you to take this guy under your wing, I want you to transfer that information, I want you to check in with them and say, not how am I doing preparing you for this, but how are you doing? Are you getting what you need? Are you getting what you need from your different teams? And the same thing with the creative director, opening their mind enough to say, are you getting enough information from me to develop the vision I want to have happen for whatever I've been hired to do?
I think this is also where it's really, really important during the hiring process. Because we were talking earlier that when you make a decision to hire someone, you're sort of using two criteria. One is sort of the science part of hiring, is that you're looking at their resume and you're looking at the experience and the skills that they have, and you're matching it with what you need. And the other is sort of the art part of hiring, is all those intangibles and is this person going to be a good fit? So when you hire this 26-year-old creative director, and you hire them based on their skills and experience, then it should be fine. And the things that you're going to have to think about is that how are they going to fit with my company? And if you've hired this person who you think is a great fit for your organization, but they still have some catching up to do from an experience and skill set standpoint, then you have to make sure you prepare your team to help this person get ready to be able to do that job. Because when you sacrifice the company fit for the skill and experience, there's consequences. And you just have to make sure that you're prepared for those. And I think that's what Mary is talking about.
Mm-hmm. So to that end, in terms of preparing them, you've both talked about there essentially needing to be concessions on both sides. The more seasoned talent who's got all the goods, all the knowledge, and those who have this shiny new degree but have done nothing with it. Having them meet in the middle, that sounds like a lot of collaboration and kind of an intense mentorship, right?
Absolutely. We all have a responsibility. For us on the exiting side, we have a responsibility. This industry was new, it was young. We learned a lot. We have a responsibility to pass that on, just the way it's been done in every other industry, in the automotive industry, in the steel industry, in the widget making industry. We can't walk out the door and leave it and let it go with us. If we want our industry to survive and thrive, we have an obligation, and we should find that person or people and say, I want to share this to you. The key is finding that person, and it's creating an environment where somebody coming into the industry can say, I want to meet somebody, I want to be mentored, I want this. Who's out there to do this with me? And I think one of our challenges next is going to be finding, the great new database that you type in, I want a mentor, and up it pops. But this is it's like I said before, it's consciousness raising. We have to do this to make this thrive. We are going to survive. All the economics say we're going to survive. The key is, can we thrive, and can we share what we've learned so that they're not making those same mistakes?
And I agree with you.
Just a moment. Joe? I'm going to interrupt. Thank you. We kind of glided a little bit past right here. I'd like you to address a little bit about what mentoring looks like, more than, as you say, ongoing, woven into the operation and the tool. This is my, sort of my standard, but of listening. I mean, this first meeting of the two, of listening to each other and not having it be, not talk about the millennials and not talk about them, but this is the team. This is what we have. And so for elders, to be ready to listen.
Oh my God.
is going to surprise them youngins, you know what I mean? And to build that tool in the first, okay, I've got it out, but I just want to talk about the tool and building that relationship so that it does become an organic, respectful, positive.
Yeah, so you have to sort of start with having a culture of learning in your organization. I think that's a really good place to start. And then the second thing for me is always think about, so mentorship, there's a couple of different ways to approach mentorship. One is you as an individual say that, hey, I need some advice, I need some guidance, I'm going to be, I want to learn more about this, or I want to grow in this area. And then you go out and find someone that can assist you with that. You're looking for guidance, you're looking for advice. But in an organization, I see it more as a transfer of knowledge from people that are coming into your organization that you want to grow, to the folks that you already have that can offer that growth for the new people that are coming in. And the other thing I think it's important is that it does not have to be some really incredibly complex system that you put into place. You just have to sort of answer a couple of questions. One is, obvious, what's the purpose of setting up sort of a mentorship in your organization or in your studio? It's sort of the why. And then you've got to think about, okay, if I know the why, now how am I going to do this? And then third, what is it, going back to what is it that you're trying to accomplish? And then who sort of best fits that profile? And I think you can simply start it from there.
And it does require, though, some sort of talent planning. You have to have some sort of objective in terms of, okay, this is who we have, this is what we want them to know. But moreover, being able to tell those emerging generations, like, look, I know you're right here, but if you want to be where she is, this is who you need to listen to. This is who you need to follow. This is who you need to have lunch with. Not even necessarily just formal, this is our mentor time, because you can't build that back to the client. Right? Not many people are going to approve of that. But if you look at that cost versus the cost of not doing it, the cost of losing an employee, of not having good retention, I mean, just from a numbers standpoint, if you're looking at someone that makes $40K here in California, you pay about 40% markup just to employ someone with benefits, insurance, all that sort of stuff. So we're at $58K. Costs about $4,000 to $5,000 on average to hire somebody, so $61,000 all in for a coordinator. If they last 6 months and then they say, I haven't hit the summit, I don't care about the mountain, they're out, you're out that money, so it's an investment, essentially, right?
Absolutely, and I want to touch back on something Kyle mentioned. Through all of our lives, we've everything about how we communicate, whether we're communicating with a partner or a friend or family, if we're talking about work, if you think about every quality improvement and continuous quality improvement and all the things on management, everything comes back to active listening. This is like a lesson that is just taught over and over again. If that communication is that not only do you want someone to listen to you, I have a lot to say, but you have to be willing to listen to them and to respond back and to say, what can I learn from this novice? What can I learn from this person? And you have to go into it with that mindset. And we talk about this, it keeps coming up, because if you can get that thing going, we've all been in it. You've been in those groups where the communication is good and strong and live and effective and quick, and you see what progress you make. But if you can create this pattern or this habit, then that is what makes these mentorships that we talk about, this transfer of knowledge, can become real.
I'm going to jump in again.
That's all right.
Because as an elder, mentorship it's two-way. It's learning two-way.
Absolutely.
And on the floor, I spent 2 years on the floor of, not on the floor, but at the Apple Store in retail. And it's the entire environment is mentorship. It doesn't have anything to do with age. How you doing? What do you know? What do you not know? So that everybody around you, and this is where I was going, is in any corporation, that little tweak could just be that all the employees are mentors. And if you're walking down the hall and you see a new engineer, you may be a costume designer, right? How you doing? Where's the bathroom? Or whatever it is, But establish relationships that you're just there to help people get comfortable and learn what it is and answer a question that you might know that isn't in the specialty. It doesn't have to be one-to-one, and it doesn't have to be every Tuesday night. Anyway, if you can create a culture of mutual mentorship, I think it's going to get us further.
And again, I think that this industry is really tailor-made for that kind of collaboration if you consider all the types of disciplines that have to come together to make all these amazing experiences, and knowing that these newer generations, they want to be part of very high-performing teams. They want to make the impact. They want to hit the summit. And they need a lot of feedback. That's just how they operate. How am I doing? How about now? What about now? What about now? So there's so many opportunities right there, it seems. If you just made that change, you made that habit of we're actively listening to each other. If you want to get from point A to point B, you follow her and you talk to him and you go over there. They know what you need to know, and there you go. Then you're on your way to the summit, right?
I agree. I think you do have to start with having that culture of learning, that the mentorship is a mutual exchange. It goes both ways. It's not, the elder teaching the newcomers. I think you learn as much when you're teaching as the teacher does while they're teaching.
Right, because it's happening. The numbers are there, it's happening.
Numbers are there.
We got to find a way to work around it. So I think, if we're to look at the kind of top takeaways that we really want people to remember from this, I think just remembering where we started. You mentioned a couple times where things were different when we started, but we all did start somewhere.
When you were 25?
What were you doing when you were 23? Absolutely.
And what did somebody trust you with?
Right.
For better or worse.
Exactly. And I've told them this story, and I'll share this with you. When I was 22 years old, I was an area manager in a theme park. And yet, segue 20 years later, I had to hire somebody, and I kept thinking, they're so young. How can I trust them? How could I trust them with 200 employees and a $7 million budget? Oh, wait, that happened to me. Somebody trusted me. It was a moment of me going, oh, I need to trust them. So.
Exactly. And I think, next, remembering that, again, this emerging talent, they've been bred to think they're magical and anything is possible. And that's exactly what we need and want in this industry. That is the whole point, is for us to make the impossible possible. So we need to obviously stop begrudging them. And again, mentorship is going to be a huge part of that. And it's not just part of onboarding. It's not,
total
here's the bathroom, sign your I-9, this is what this guy knows, welcome to the team, right? It's an ongoing, it's an integration, really. I think. And it starts with the hiring and it continues on. It doesn't stop, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So we do have another short video. I think that kind of sums up a lot of our points, and then we'll do Q&A after. So Joe, roll video, please.
Which leads me to the fourth point, which is environment, which is we're taking this amazing group of young, fantastic kids who are just dealt a bad hand. It's no fault of their own. And we put them in corporate environments that care more about the numbers than they do about the kids. They care more about the short-term gains than the long-term life of this young human being. We care more about the year than the lifetime, right? And so we are putting them in corporate environments that aren't helping them build their confidence, that aren't helping them learn the skills of cooperation, that aren't helping them overcome the challenges of a digital world and finding more balance, that isn't helping them overcome the need to have instant gratification and teach them the joys and impact and the fulfillment you get from working hard on something for a long time that cannot be done in a month or even in a year. And so we're thrusting to them in corporate environments, and the worst part about it is they think it's them. They blame themselves. They think it's them who can't deal. And so it makes it all worse. It's not. I'm here to tell them it's not them. It's the corporations, it's the corporate environments, it's the total lack of good leadership in our world today that is making them feel the way they do. They were dealt a bad hand, and I hate to say it, but it's the company's responsibility. Sucks to be you, like we have no choice.
Thank you so much. I'm sure there are questions. I have one quick question before I let it go, is I hear, we talked once about a little bit, as the elder population that doesn't want to retire
Quit saying that.
sticks around, I hear an increase in value for those elders.
Absolutely.
Go back to the rate card. Okay. Questions, comments, participation.
Back there in the corner.
Over here.
Hi, thank you so much. That was a great presentation, really valuable. The opening video talked about patience and how these kids don't have that patience. What tips do you have to help? You can't just say, be patient. That doesn't work. Do you have any tips to help them learn that skill?
Well, I think you brought up a good point, that statement there of you can't just tell them. I don't think there's any, nobody wants to be preached to. I think, again, it comes down to integrating instead of onboarding. You're part of the team. This is what we're all working for. This is what we're trying to make. Here's all the ingredients that go into it, showing them the hows and the whys, and being more demonstrative instead of just, this means this, go. And I think that that's really where I've seen the most successful teams come together. What about you?
I agree with you. It's celebrating the little ones. Here's the success. It's not looking for the big milestones. It's going for the smaller milestones. And it's asking the question, how do you think you're doing? And once again, getting a response, getting them committed to, this is how I think I'm doing. This is what I think I'm doing. It's communication again.
Well, and remember, we're the keepers of the secret. If we are introducing what we do as, look, what you get.
You're welcome.
You take a year. It's not about, if you do it this way, you'll really be happy. But it's like, this is why I love what I do, because I spent 2.5 years on it. If we reveal the excitement rather than try to tell it. Other questions? In the back, I see a hand waving.
Two things. Fundamentally, we need to stop calling millennials youngins, youngsters, and kids.
Yes.
All right.
Well done. Acknowledged.
Point number 2, my name is Clara, and I'm a Gen X.
Yeah.
And I think everything you've said here is valid. However, there's a beautiful gray area that you are fundamentally missing. And I get it, because we were coming of age and graduating and entering the workforce during those salad years that Kieran was talking about. You didn't need us. But we're here. We are few, but we are mighty. We are a perfect bridge between these two extremes that you are talking about. We have the shiny degrees, and we have the years in the field. We can be mentors to the millennials, and without them feeling like we're telling them to get off our lawn. And we can be
watch it.
And we can be resources to the older generation, because we have the years of experience where they feel comfortable handing over the reins. So my question is, where do we fit into your scheme?
Good question. That's a good question.
So one of the things that I mentioned to you earlier that I'm working with a company that is in that age group that we're talking about. So one of the things that we've just recently are using and it's working for us is we've put in place a cultural committee. And because it's very much an environment of collaboration that we're trying really hard to promote, so we're using this cultural committee to sort of address any type of opportunity or situation that comes up. And it has been really helpful. And they are also helping us to devise some of the integration and the training. And it seems like most of the folks, for whatever reason, that have ended up in this committee are the X generation. And I don't know how that came about, but that is one of the ways that we're utilizing that experience and that age group.
Well, and if you've got a culture like that, any new employee, period, becomes a part of the mentorship cycle.
And I think it comes back to talent planning too. You know, being more objective when you are making those hires. What teams do you have in place so that you can show somebody what those milestones are? Not just it's your first day as a junior coordinator, that's the ECD, but who are all the producers and the designers and the art directors and everyone else in between, is showing them these are the milestones, these are the people you should be talking to, and obviously that level of talent is going to be partnering with them.
Okay, there's a question here in the third row.
Well, first of all, I love the gal in the green shirt, and I want to get to know you. So we'll talk later. My name is Michelle, and I'm an executive director, female leader for a cultural institution, Landmark. One of the things I wanted to say about the millennials is they are great to have if you're a female leader. They're very open-minded to receiving direction. I actually get a lot of support from the 30% of the young people, youngins, I guess we were calling them, that work for me. The other people, the other 50% that work for me, are older than me as a Gen Xer. And it's interesting, I just wanted to say that when my grandfather went to World War II and he came back into the workplace at 22 years old, he was looked at as a man. And so I do agree that we need to look at this next generation with projecting positive on them because they do contribute in really positive ways. And I think one of the ways that they do it is they can research anything in 30 seconds flat and come back to you with all the analysis of every website you ever need. So I think that, one of the things I was hoping you would comment a little bit or what are the strengths that they bring? Because I think that the strengths that they bring is a willingness to accept diversity in the workplace and accept a diversity in direction and to be flexible. I think that this sad part that we're talking about, actually there's a lot of strengths. So, I just wanted to get my words in there about they're great for female leadership, and I wanted to comment on that.
Absolutely. They're incredibly aspirational. They're incredibly curious. I know that even I personally have had assistants that I've been like, why is he on his phone? Because he's like, okay, so here's our plan, here's our map, here's everything that and he's working, he's researching. But you're absolutely right, incredibly supportive, incredibly open-minded, and up for anything. And that is something we absolutely need to harness in this industry. It is so helpful for us.
Okay, one more. Bryn? Who's that?
I really want to talk to you about Gen Z because Gen Z is here. Millennials are now, no offense, I have everybody from Gen Z to boomers working for me. I'm a Gen X leader, and everybody speaks a different language, but they all make the most dynamic, fabulous team. And nobody yet is even talking about the Gen Zs, and they're here. They're in the room, they're in our industry. The millennials are, we have elder millennials. Kate and I joke about my elder millennials are different than my young millennial team members. It's really unfair to put any generation into one box.
I think we're talking new people, and I apologize for if we didn't use all the names, but it wasn't too exclusionary. Although it sounds like it was. The point is, new thinking is coming in. Like when I write about millennials, I call it, it's a way of thinking. Anybody from 40 to 10 is essentially a millennial because they're thinking in this way that people of the elder area aren't used to thinking, aren't open, don't listen. So this is really and I appreciate it because this is just education for people who haven't been speaking the language, but it's not to exclude anybody. This us and them thing was a joke. And this is about all the new thinkers, all the young people. A generation now is like 3 years at this point because with technology and the way people think and what they have, they are different personalities. Everything that was said on this stage applies to all of it, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
we all have to listen. We all have to mentor. Back to the Apple store. I mean, I walked in, I was 50, and everybody else is 15, 25. I thought I was a Walmart greeter. But what I discovered was the hive mind. And people were as interested in what I could help them do as I was and what they could help me do. And it gave me a whole new picture of collaboration without any vision to sexual orientation or color or age or anything. It was just like, what do you know? And it applies to everybody. We're not here to exclude anyone. We can't afford to. And the more diverse thinking we have in our offices and our production groups, the better we're all going to be. We won't want to age out.
Right.
I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting when, like when you were saying, you have a problem and somebody younger, give it a letter, runs out of the room and comes back a minute later and it's like, it's laid out, they're ready, they're so fast. And these are tools for all of us. And I think the main thing in the way is is pointing out the importance of listening, active listening, as you say, and welcoming everything new, listening first without judgment, whether it's an X or a Z or a millennial or a new grandpa. I mean, anybody needs to be listened to first because once they've felt listened to, then they sense respect. And the respect is authentic because if you've actively listened, you'll hear that you didn't hear what you were expecting to, I think. So, I thank you for the shaking up. Clara, thank you for the course correction. But let's not get defensive. The idea is like, hey, you forgot so-and-so. Hey, you forgot so-and-so. Absolutely, thank you. Thank you. And my response to it is, yeah, bring it on. It's not a challenge. It's exciting. Anyway, enough. You guys want to have lunch? Go to lunch. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
You guys were great.
Thank you.